Awesome.
Yes.
Good luck to both of them.
Get excited, folks. This is the finals.
Indeed. And yes, as Pyrelight just said in the chat, there is the third way you can escape with a key, which is of course to have one of the other random chests contain a second key in it.
You know, honestly, for all the races I've ever done, I've never seen 2 keys in the throne room.
Nor have I, but you know, it is.
Oh, and look what we have here.
We have some gold.
Just as I explained, they have Wing of the Wyvern, and they both know the trick, of course.
Oh, there it is. Yep. And they have gold, so I have to imagine they're both going to be taking the door to acquire more keys, and then from there, probably checking the treasury, I would have to presume.
They are both rushing that old man and his key supply. They're going to stock up on 6 keys apiece, and from here, they have access to 4 treasure chests in the Tantagle Treasury. They also have access to the Tantagle Basement, which could lead to any of the game's caves. Their locations are randomized, and we'll see which direction they head in. Game Boy is going to go check out the basement first, as well as Holmes, so they are both on their way now, and we'll see what we have down here right now.
Yes, keys are very, very important. That's what really opens up the game for you, and so the fact that they have the keys later on, you know, still very, very early to tell, but that is one kind of trend pointer, if you will, toward possibly a fast seed here.
So based on what I've seen, it's really hard to tell because they don't have a torch or the radiant spell to actually tell where they are, but they're able to kind of feel their way through a dark dungeon by, if you hit a wall, you'll get a bonk sound.
Yep.
So I think that's Garen's grave. They were able to go up from the start.
Okay.
But I could
Game Boy running into a blue dragon and is going to get sent to the sin bin. We have our first death of the race. Death is very common early on in this randomizer. And Game Boy is going to check the throne room. We saw some gold in there that could come into play later on, depending on what our racers elect to do. Holmes is still inside of the dungeon right now, inching ever so closer to those treasure chests, but he is stomped by a gold man.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, as McGrew was saying, that did look like the grave just from the path that Holmes was taking there. Thinking he was going toward the stairs to the second basement there.
Yes, if either racers elect to give that another shot, there are 3 very easily obtainable treasure chests there. It looks like they both know the path to get there in the dark without a torch or the radiant spell. And we just saw Game Boy reach level 2 after he defeated that red slime.
Yes, and then
very modest gains across the board, but it's still early on. Hard to determine what the stats will look like later on from that.
Yep, so we've got a path divergence right away here. We see MisterHomes is already trying to get those treasures in Garen's grave, whereas Game Boy left the town and is leveling up a bit.
Right. Yeah, there is asking if there's anything good in the treasury there in Tantagel. Not really. Some gold, potential, gold grind applications, or just grabbing the gold each time you die, depending on if there's a village nearby.
And because he went to Garen's grave, we get to do our little test explanation, and that's the best one yet.
New record!
Yeah, Ball of Light is probably the best possible fake message to get. So let's explain this treasure chest glitch, shall we? So there is a bug or feature in Dragon Warrior whereby if you open 9 treasure chests in the same area, the game doesn't store that information that you've opened all the chests correctly, and the 9th treasure chest you open, and the 10th, and the 11th, etc., won't disappear when you obtain their contents. So, by getting the 3 in the throne room, plus the 4 in the locked treasury is 7, and then the second one in Garen's grave, which makes the 9th one, he gets to keep opening that chest over and over again, and this is most commonly used to gold grind. You can get all kinds of gold by doing this, repeatedly opening the chest, getting 500 to 700 gold each time. and then going out and buying the most powerful equipment you can find.
That's true. And in cases where you actually find an item in the chest, usually the name of the item is glitched. In that case, we saw the ball of light. That's the goal of the game, but that's not the actual ball of light. The game is not over yet for MisterHomes. It's not that simple. The item in there, as we saw when he checked his inventory, was actually a torch.
Right, and one thing to note is that the text is not. Oh, I just saw.
We have a very good development.
Yes.
At level 3, they're going to learn Hurt More, which is a direct damage spell dealing anywhere from 58 to 65 damage. Most enemies do not have an evasion chance for that spell. Indeed. So we are going to see a lot of these early levels fly by very quickly here.
Yes, indeed. In the vanilla game, Hurt More, not really all that useful, honestly, because by the time you get it, you have all the best equipment. You know, everything you're going to be fighting is either probably going to die in one hit, or it's going to be resistant to Hurt More. But in the randomizer, Hurt More is absolutely huge. Outside of maybe Return, so you can keep that key, Hurt More is probably the spell you want to see in your spell list at the start of the game.
And there absolutely. We're seeing the first use of Hurt More in action as Game Boy casted it on that knight. That is an enemy that would be impossible to defeat at level 3, even with all the best gear. But in this case, Hurt More takes him out in one shot, and 70 experience is huge at the start of the game, so he's already at level 5.
Yes, indeed. But to continue with what I was mentioning with the kind of the text glitching for the chest glitch, each string, the string is not consistent from game to game. So if you see a ball of light, in a subsequent seed, there's no guarantee it's necessarily going to be the torch. And sometimes the game just pulls completely random text from out of nowhere. Sometimes you'll get things that are real items, but that obviously can't be in chests, such as the ball of light or, a bamboo pole. Sometimes you will find things such as axe ghosts or sword magidrax or other nonsense items. And what you do in that case is, you just check your inventory and see what the item actually is.
Exactly. And while you were giving that explanation, MisterHomes found what we in the community affectionately refer to as the Jerk Cave. It's a cave with an old man who wants nothing to do with you unless you have Erdrick's token, the Staff of Rain, and the Stones of Sunlight. That's how you get the rainbow drop to finish the game. And he's also found the entrance to Charlock Castle, which you do need the rainbow drop to access. They're both late game locations, but just knowing where they are in the randomizer gives him a little bit of information whenever his level gets higher. He finds the items, he finds the equipment. And Holmes right now is about to walk into the cave that Game Boy found, which was the Stones of Sunlight cave. We didn't find anything important in that treasure chest. It was just a cursed belt.
Yes,
we'd be remiss if we didn't mention MisterHomes ran into a metal slime, which is a roller coaster of emotions because it surprised him and immediately killed him with Hurt More.
Yes, so metal slimes are an enemy you want to see in the early game because they are worth 255 experience points and are generally, when they don't have things like Hurt More or Dragon Lord Breath, they are easy to kill in the sense that they are not likely to kill you in that case. They have a very high tendency to run away if your strength is, I think it's above 20. Is that right?
20 or above is the number, yes.
Yes. So that is kind of the challenge of the metal slime. And as I mentioned, they give 255 experience, which is huge early game. That's actually the maximum amount of experience anything in this version of the game can give. For whatever reason, they put enemy experience into just a 1-byte, 8-bit, integer. And we see Game Boy finding the ball of light.
Yes, we do.
You just saw it there. He had the ball of light the first time, and then now he's getting some bamboo poles from that chest. So,
yeah. Whenever you recheck your item screen, it seems to reset some variable somewhere, and then you only get fake bamboo poles instead of whatever else it was.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Nothing yet.
That's right.
So if that was the actual ball of light, we'd have a record for the fastest seed ever, with both players finishing in under 10 minutes. But that's not the case, so the show must go on.
Not quite that easy.
Holmes runs into an armored knight, and he has enough hit points to survive one attack, so 2 hurt mores is basically a guaranteed kill on one of those. They're worth 178 experience, which is huge right now, so Holmes is going to move up to level 7. And now we have the cheaper heal spell, in addition to the more expensive but far more useful heal more spell that both players started off with. We're getting most of the great spells early on right now. And we're about to enter our first town on Mr. Holmes' side, and he's found coal. Coal is potentially one of the best towns to find in the randomizer, because you could find the best armor in the game on this tree tile here. We don't, though. We just end up with the fairy flute, which I personally am obviously not very fond of these days, but has its uses in theoretically putting the golem to sleep for an easy kill.
Alright, so what Mr. Holmes does find, though, is a weapon shop with all sorts of fun goodies. It had a flame sword, it had the silver shield, which is the best shield in the game, and he already knows how to gold grind.
Exactly.
So we'll see how quickly he decides to do that. I imagine with Hurtmore it's not a big priority, though.
Mm-hmm. On the other side, Game Boy has also reached level 7, and he's exploring the basement of Garen's grave. He wants the other 2 treasure chests that are buried down there.
Yes, he's going to take a look and see what's down there.
Just a few steps away, and he's going to pick up the last one. And we've just found some money. And he has, in fact, triggered the gold glitch at this point, but he's not going to grind money on that chest down here. At least I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting that he doesn't.
Well, Game Boy doesn't have the knowledge that Holmes does about where the 2 towns are we've seen.
Certainly,
so he doesn't know if he can get anywhere to spend that money quite yet.
Right, that's the big thing, is absent actually knowing that you can grind for... The silver shield tends to be the big money item that people grind for, because it actually is the best shield in the game. There's no, like, Erdrick shield or, super rare shield that you can pick up anywhere, so that tends to be the one.
The silver shield is an amazing item. It's plus 20 defense from a store-bought piece of gear that will last you the entire game. Defense can be a very potent stat later on. It can facilitate your experience grind if you in fact need to do one to reach the stats necessary to beat the Dragon Lord.
Yes, indeed.
Holmes is going to hurt more this Droll Magi, and that's going to give him enough experience points to reach level 8. We'll see what kind of gains he gets here. Very modest gains, and the spell he learned was Repel, which is actually pretty useful for both of these players right now. In a seed where they have hurt more early on.
Yes, indeed.
You do not want to waste time with low experience yield monsters. You want to throw up Repel, get them out of your face, and focus on toss and hurt more at those late game enemies for much fast experience.
Indeed. See a blue dragon here on Mr. Holmes' side, and he's going to run from that. Blue dragons actually have a fairly high Hurtmore resistance. I think it's a bit better than a 50-50 shot to actually land a Hurtmore on them, and you're going to require 2 of them to actually take out a blue dragon, so that's still an enemy.
I believe the exact number is 56.25% to land one.
Okay, so about 9 out of 16 probably then. Yeah. So that's still going to be an enemy they're going to want to steer clear of for the moment.
Dragons in general are usually not fun. They should have little to fear from the green dragons with their Hurtmore.
Right.
The red dragons, they have no chance against those. We call those the fun police. You run into a red dragon, chances are you're heading back to the sin bin. You are dead. Dead, dead, dead.
Yes, indeed. And, Mr. Holmes kind of re-grabbing those 3 chests there in the grave, and it looks like he's going to go explore those last couple of chests as well.
Holmes has the knowledge of where coal is, and he can buy some very nice equipment there. He's already able to gold grind if he should unfortunately die, but he does want to play the odds, make sure that he checks the 2 chests down here. We know from watching Game Boy go through there, that they don't have anything particularly of use in them, but it's always good to eliminate the chests, because you are going to need to find both the Staff of Rain and the Stones of Sunlight, and possibly Erdrick's token
possibly the
in
token.
chest.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, you if nothing else, just the knowledge, since they're already here in the grave, just getting rid of those, knowing okay, those don't contain anything useful. Even that is good information to have, especially late game. When you're possibly still looking for, let's say, Erdrick's sword, and you're wondering, okay, if you don't leave those chests there, or I should say, if you do leave the chests, if you don't take them, it's always going to kind of be in the back of your head that, did I make a big mistake not checking those last couple chests?
And Game Boy did, in fact, find coal, but unfortunately the AK-47 just outside said no and sent him back to Tantagle. And Game Boy is just going to walk right back there, try to see what town it is.
Yep.
Probably the smart play for him to not gamble on doing a gold grind before trying to get back there. He doesn't know what's in the store, and to be fair, the town isn't too far away. But we know that if he had taken the risk, gone back into the grave, opened those 3 chests, triggered the glitch, he could have duped his gold, and he'd be looking at some very nice equipment, which I'm pretty sure he's going to do once he sees what is inside of the shop. As we see on Mr. Holmes' side, right now he is infinitely replicating that gold chest. He's probably going to get to about 22,500 to pick up both the flame shield and the silver sword, which are both the best, they're the 2 best bought pieces of equipment in the game for Erdrick's descendants' left and right hands, respectively.
Yes, indeed. Other very good items are the flame sword and the silver shield, as opposed to the flame shield and the silver sword, which was what you actually said. But anyway.
Too much Final Fantasy randomizer, Jackamus.
Hey, I only did that once. Go easy on me, fellas.
Yeah, no worries. And there's also full plate armor in Cole as well, so I predict that he'll get up to, if he remembers that all 3 of them are there, he's going to get enough gold to buy all 3 of those, but before he leaves town, I think he's going to save. And what that's going to do, of course, is if he were to die on the way to Cole, normally it's very similar to Pokemon. If you die, you lose half your gold. And we really don't want that after going through all this trouble of triggering this gold glitch. We don't want to lose 13,000 gold or whatever it was. So it's worth it to take the few extra 20 seconds or whatever to go talk to the king and save your game. If you do die, you can just hit that reset button and retain all that gold.
Was there also oh, there he goes. Okay, I was gonna say, was there also magic armor in Cole? But no, I just can't do math. That's all.
I think I undershot the initial value that I threw out there. I think I did the silver shield and magic armor number that I have in my memory instead of the silver shield and flame sword number.
Might be, yeah, because silver shield, flame sword is, it's going to be about 25,000. So. And,
Game Boy finding of the Hurtmore metal slime as well, and tries to run.
Slime, yep.
Oh man, now he's trying to cast his own YOLO.
To consider his options there, and then he's gonna try to Hurtmore it.
Well, honestly, with the high agility of the metal slime, the Hurtmore is probably more likely to land than the chance to run away.
That might actually be his best option, yeah.
The Hurtmore is only 1 in 16, but it's entirely possible that the odds to run away are far worse. The metal slime has 255 agility, which is pretty outrageous. That's why they're basically impossible to deal any damage to normally, unless you are a very, very high level.
Right, unless you have a lot of strength.
Yeah, I mean, just from the statistics standpoint, I know it's not quite as bad. You're something like 20% to run with their agility currently, versus a Hurtmore is only 7 and change percent. So it's actually still a little bit better to run away. But on the other hand, if you do hit with that Hurtmore, you're getting that sweet 255 experience.
It's simply a matter of weighing the risk versus the reward. If the run chance is better, but it's still not terribly likely at 20%, you might as well try to get the experience out of it. What's the harm?
Right.
And Alright, so on Mr. Holmes, he makes his trip to Cole, grabs the flame sword, the full plate armor, and the silver shield. So he has the best shield, the best store-bought sword, and one of the highest defense armors in the game already. So that's gonna take him pretty far so far.
He is sitting pretty gear-wise so far. That is not something that anyone could disagree with.
Right. He's in good shape with the gear. Besides the Erdrick's armor, which is the best armor in the game, there is one other piece of armor that is better than the full plate, which is the magic armor. It's better not so much for the defense. It's actually the same defense as the full plate. It's, I believe, 24 defense power. But what the magic armor would allow you to do is you would recover 1 hit point for every 4 steps that you take, I believe it is.
That's right.
And it also reduces the damage that Hurt and Hurt More does to you by about a half. Does not reduce breath.
It's by a third, not a half, but that's still a huge advantage.
Okay, I know it's I know Erdrick's armor reduces your fire breath damage by a third, but okay.
Yes.
Either way, it's a nice reduction.
Yeah, Erdrick's armor really just does it all. It's probably one of the best armors in any RPG, honestly. Highest defense, 1 HP regenerate per step taken, hurt resistance, dragon breath resistance, slices and dices.
That's very good.
Right.
It's not technically required to beat the game, but it might as well be.
Yeah, if you want to get through it in any kind of reasonable time frame, you need the Erdrick's armor. There's if you really feel like going through the archives of Speedrun's live races, there's one comment from Bresticle, and the comment was, "Never, ever, ever try armorless." So
it's certainly possible, but you'd need some pretty high stats to compensate for the extra damage that you're taking from Dragonlord's fire breath attack during the battle, and the fact that you're going to have to tank about 150 damage just getting into the castle from those magic floors.
Right. It's not totally impossible, but it would take, especially in a randomizer race, it would take a very, very specific set of circumstances.
Alright, as MisterHomes hits level 10, one more equipment update as well. MisterHomes ran into Brecconary and bought and equipped the Dragon Scale. So that'll give him 2 more defense.
And we have a question in chat. What's the rough expected finish time of this run? And the answer is we really have no idea. Because it is a randomizer. It could take 1 hour, it could take 3 hours. But that said, I believe the kind of target time, if you will, for the average of all seeds tends to be between about 1.5 hours to 2 hours is kind of the goal.
I think 95 minutes was the average length of time for all the tournament matches so far. So that's a fairly good estimate. We aren't seeing the greatest strength and agility growth so far, though. It's far too early to predict if we're going to have a big level up or not that's going to counterbalance that. But typically you'd expect more than 40, 42 for strength and agility at level 10. They're usually in the 50s on average, but we'll see what happens.
Right.
And we have Holmes having a look at the enemy that is inside of Hawksness, and we find a golem.
So you're talking about the fairy flute, and looks like he's going to just try to run away from it for now, but we'll see. Oh, no, he's going
to fight it. He's got heal more after all. He definitely has a reasonable chance to beat the golem as long as it stays asleep long enough for him to get a handful of attacks off, and he's certainly having very good luck with that fairy flute. Quite different than a certain fellow named Jackamus had yesterday, but that's besides the point.
Excellent move. There we go.
And he's found the token.
And indeed,
so we now know for sure that Erdrick's armor is somewhere on the overworld. And in order to find that piece of armor, we are going to need to find the town of Cantlin and talk to an old man who's buried behind a locked door and a whole bunch of damaging magic tiles. He will give our racers coordinates on the world map. They're going to have to find out how they can get there, either by counting it out manually or rescuing the princess, whose function in the game effectively is a compass to pinpoint your location on the map. Search the tile, and then they will find the armor.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really, really lucky golem fight for MisterHomes. First off, it
really
knew
was.
the hurt spell, which is about the best thing you want to see, because normally those things can just punch you in the face for 50 damage. You don't really want that. The hurt spell, though, only does about
Yes.
3 to 10, I think. So that's fantastic. And then also, because he had the fairy flute, he's able to put it to sleep. It's got a small chance of waking up, and in that fight, it really just took a big snooze. Barely woke up at all.
Yes.
Easy fight.
Yes,
Remarkably so, yes.
Yep, the princess is more like GPS, yes indeed. We sometimes call the item we get from her the GPS, the Gwylin positioning system.
I haven't actually heard that one before. That's pretty clever.
I wish I could say I came up with it, but I did not. Don't know exactly who did. But
So we have Game Boy wandering into Garenham, which is usually one of the nicer towns to find once you have keys, which both of our players have had
They
since
do.
the start of the game. There's 3 free treasure chests behind that locked door, and also an underground dungeon or cave of some sort, and we'll see what we end up finding here. We have gold, and then presumably a herb, and presumably another herb. And meanwhile, Holmes is going to defeat that armored knight and reach level 11.
Yeah.
Still very modest gains across the board. Stats are perhaps a little lower than average.
oh, I have to say it, 0 agility! I love it!
There's the MTI level for you, folks.
Yes, is that actually the very first one we've seen? Was that the very first 0 stat gain so far? I know some of the levels haven't been great, but I think there've been at least 1 point in everything so far.
We've seen a couple without MP very early on, but that's pretty normal.
Okay.
Yeah, MisterHomes also finds the bridge to nowhere, a single desert tile.
There it is.
You know, ever since we've noticed that phenomenon, it seems to be cropping up in every single overworld map we've found.
I theorize that McGrew programmed the world to generate one
Generate the
specific
bridge,
leading to one tile every single time that it
That
generates.
sounds
a
like
map.
something he would do, absolutely.
We'll have to, next time I load up the randomizer, I'll have to check that text that it generates at the start, telling you what it's doing. See if I can pick up a, generating bridge to nowhere.
MisterHomes gets to check out the Garenham treasures. He also gets to be a little disappointed. Although he does get to pick up 2 herbs in those chests. The reason why Game Boy's chests didn't have any herbs in them was because he was already carrying the maximum of 6. So whenever you try to open a chest that would have an herb in it, and you already have 6 herbs, it just tells you it was empty.
Yes, the Dissurgent of Erdrick is
indeed.
very responsible with his herb consumption. He limits himself to 6 on his person just so he doesn't overdose. That's all.
That's right. And I believe the game will also tell you, not that it would apply in that specific situation, since you needed a key to get into the Garenham treasury, if you will. But I believe it will also tell you the chest is empty if it is a magic key, but you also already have the maximum in keys, which again is 6.
Yeah, that's right. Exact same situation there.
So still not a huge experience difference here. Sometimes when you get an early hurt more, one person gets significantly more luck in the enemies they find. Not really the case here. We're only a little over 300 difference, which is really nothing.
300 experiences 2 battles against high-level enemies that they can take out with that spell.
Right.
And Mr. Holmes, despite his best efforts, trying very hard to escape that red dragon, chanting heal more when necessary, the police thought he was having just a little too much fun lately and decided to arrest him.
That's right.
So he is back to Tantagle. And now we see Game Boy doing his gold grind. And we're going to see him pick up probably a very similar set of equipment to what Mr. Holmes has right now, very shortly.
Yes, he is getting his gold grind on here.
So we're still missing quite a few plot items. No stones, no staff so far.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't very many treasure chests left that we don't know about that could have those. So there's the mountain cave, which I don't believe either player has found. And that one's got, what, 5 treasure chests in it?
It is 5, yes.
Yes.
Yep, and then there's going to be one in the town of Rimeldar as well. And I think those are the only ones that we, looking at both streams, don't know about.
Those are the only ones that we haven't seen between both players. You are correct. And of note, we haven't found Erdrick's sword yet either, so at this point it's far more likely that it's buried somewhere in the final dungeon than in the remaining cave and town on the world map. And Holmes has found Rimeldar, so we're going to see what is in that one lone chest that Tristal was talking about moments ago.
Have we found the tablet cave yet? And did I just miss it?
Oh, yep. I always forget one. I think you're right.
I always do the same thing, so. And using 2 keys to get an herb. That is a good financial investment there.
Yep, so 1 treasure chest in Tablet Cave. So we are still at a total of 6 unknown treasure chests that have to have the stones and the staff.
Yes.
So that leaves 4 that could have Erdrick's sword, or 7 in Charlock Castle, the final dungeon, that could have it as well. It's getting close to the time where chat needs to call out where they think Erdrick's sword is.
That's right, place your bets.
We'll also take bets on the fighter's ring, which is something else that we haven't seen yet
that's
either.
That's true, yeah, no fighter's ring yet either.
Yes,
and Game Boy, after doing his gold grind, was unfortunately slain, so he's going to load his save and make the walk back to town. Conserve the money that he saved with the king and try her again. And the cave right outside of Rimeldar is the aforementioned tablet cave, so we're going to eliminate one more chest here. So we know that both players are going to have to find Mountain Cave, because regardless of what's in this chest, there's still 2 plot items remaining. And it's a cursed belt.
Yeah, we found both the cursed belts, they're dual wielding.
Corset for Spark Over, High Spark Over.
The Mountain Cave is definitely the key for this seed in terms of plot items.
Oh yeah, I mean, Mountain Cave could have damn near everything.
Could have everything,
at this point. It has the Stones of Sunlight and the Staff of Rain. It could also contain Erdrick's sword or the Fighter's Ring.
Or both. Or all 4, which would be...
I mean, all 4 would be insane.
Yes. That's the kind of cave that you'd be happier to find 5 minutes in instead of eliminate every other possibility and then find it.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and there was only one cave left that Mr. Holmes hadn't found, and he just found it.
So we're in there right now. We're going to find both the stones and the staff in this cave, and God forbid we might also find the sword and or the fighter's ring.
And or the fighter's ring, yes indeed. Which actually I think now is a good time to actually discuss what the fighter's ring, and for that matter the dragon scale, do. So the dragon scale, I'll start there, is a basically permanent +2 to your defense power. And the fighter's ring, actually in the vanilla game, the fighter's ring is bugged. It does absolutely nothing. But the randomizer restores its intended functionality, which is basically the attack counterpart to the dragon scale. It's +2 attack power. And +2 attack power does not sound like a lot, but we have seen it be the difference between, a win and a loss on the Dragon Lord, or, a comfortable victory versus, it coming down to your last attack on the Dragon Lord. So, also of note, in the Mountain Cave, golems everywhere. So that's a fairy flute actually a little bit useful.
Yeah, not useful in all seas, but we're seeing a lot of golems here.
Yeah, the thing about golems and, the fairy flute is that generally if a golem is worth fighting for whatever reason, it's because it has a moveset that renders the fairy flute kind of redundant. Golems have a lot of HP and pretty good defense, so you generally do not want to try and engage them in a hand-to-hand fight. And just because the fairy flute takes so long to actually activate, and the way enemies waking up from sleep works in Dragon Warrior, it's generally not worth it to try and put them to sleep and fight. You're generally just going to want to hope they have a moveset that makes them a lot easier, or you're going to want to, or just run from them.
Yep.
Yep. As we
But
were,
no Erdrick sword, and I believe no fighter's ring as well.
That's correct.
don't believe so.
So that means
Both
they
of
are both in
those-
Charlock.
Yes.
The betting window has opened up.
That's right.
All right, guys, what do you guys think?
So
Where's
for
the
those of
sword?
you
Where's
not
the ring?
familiar with the layout of the treasure chests, you have 6 treasure chests in a treasury, as well as one all the way by itself somewhere. That's the normal chest that you find Erdrick's sword in. So you can bet on either the Erdrick sword chest for the sword, or one of 6 treasure chests in the treasury. You have top left, middle left, bottom left, dead center, center bottom, and the one on the right. And for anyone saying sword in treasury or ring in treasury, you can't win a bet that way. You have to bet on a specific treasure chest, or we're not going to count it.
Yeah, that's ludicrous. You can't
Yeah.
just call sword in treasure.
You can
Come
call
on now.
6 out of the 7 chests, yeah. As for me, I'll say fighter's ring in vanilla sword chest and sword in bottom left of the treasury.
Yeah, I thought about ring in the sword chest. That felt right to me, but I'm actually going to go with the sword and the ring right next to each other in the center row of the treasury. Sword, then ring.
I will go top left and middle left.
For which? Trying to be sneaky?
Sword will be in middle left.
Alright. Okay, so we've got our guesses on the record. Everybody else in chat? What you got?
I think the tricky part is if any of us are going to be able to remember our own guesses in about 20 minutes' time when someone actually gets down there to look for it.
Yeah, that's fair. I did
That's true.
type mine out in chat for posterity.
Yeah, I should do the same, actually.
May as well. We can always scroll through that later and see who wins.
Yes, indeed.
Holmes inching towards level 12 right now.
Yes, and,
After this green dragon, he will be just a few points away from level 12.
Yeah, the leveling is just fast and furious. I mean, level 3 Heartmore is going to do that, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that'll get you there pretty quickly.
But not just that, they found really good enemies to use it on, too. I mean, lots of green dragons, lots and lots of axe knights. Some of the best stuff that you want to be casting Heartmore on that doesn't resist it so much.
And we still have a deficit of about 300 experience separating both players. Still very close in that regard.
Yes, that is, as we mentioned before, 300 experience is really going to be almost nothing by the end of the game, providing it stays that way.
And
Oh, wow.
during that
the
trip
true
to Rim...
MPI level. There's the level 12, the true MTI level, with 2 0 stats. 0 power! 0 HP! I love it!
Well done. So on MisterHomes' docket, obviously he's got all 3 of the ingredients for the rainbow drop. And he can kind of swing by that cave whenever he feels like it, because he's got 2 other things he needs to do.
Yeah,
the first thing
there's
is to
no
find
pressure.
Cantlin.
There's
Go
no
ahead.
pressure to go turn in the items for the rainbow drop right now because of how close it was to the starting area. As he's exploring, it's still very likely that something will sneak up on him and kill him and send him back to the start, and that would be the time to cash in the items for the rainbow drop. He still wants to find Cantlin because he knows he needs those coordinates for that armor.
Yep, and speaking of, the AK-47, driving its automatic axe into his head repeatedly. Yeah, you missed with the Hurtmore. I found that an Armor Knight is going to take 2 Hurtmores to defeat, and I found that one of the 2 Hurtmores missing happens a lot more often than I would like. Or a lot more often than should be statistically possible on average, but...
Right.
they do have a little bit of Hurtmore resistance, I believe. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's...
Game Boy takes a huge setback. He did finally find the mountain cave, but on that first floor, he encountered a Droll Magi that surprised and breathed Dragon Lord Fire Breath on him for 69 damage.
Yeah,
Instantly
ouch.
killing him.
yeah, that's the first real instance of that is a death you do not want to see right now. Because he at least knows where the cave is, but that set him back the travel time that he's going to need to get back there to pick up the 2 items that we know are in there, and I'm fairly certain he has eliminated all other possibilities as well. And as predicted, after the death, Holmes did cash in his plot item, so he's got the rainbow drop now. So what remains on his to-do list is to find Caitlin, get those coordinates, and pick up Erdrick's armor, and then dive into Charlock to find that sword and ideally also the fighter's ring.
Yes,
so we're starting to see a little bit of separation between both of the players. Race would still be very close if Game Boy didn't take that death, but Holmes definitely has a bit of an advantage right now, but neither player still has found Caitlin. That is still a huge wild card that could swing the momentum in either way.
Right, definitely far from over yet, but as you mentioned, Mr. Holmes does have the advantage right now, both in experience and as far as just some of the... He has also turned in the rainbow drop, etc., so...
I would say the advantage in experience is pretty much negligible. It's less than 200 points. That's a battle and a half. That's not something you worry too much about. It's really the progression of items right now that is separating both of the players. However, Holmes is continuously running into the fun police, and they are just having none of his attempts to run away. It's like someone sent out a fun SWAT team after him there.
Yes, indeed. Sir, step away from the fun video game. Sir, what did I tell you?
Yep, so right now Mr. Holmes desperately looking for Caitlin. He needs to find that before he can really do anything else here. Game Boy trying to get back to the mountain cave that was ripped away from him.
Yes.
By a dastardly droll magi.
Yes, and that is kind of the beauty and the pain of Randomizer, in that, as you mentioned, that death to the droll magi is not something you want to see, but at the same time, I don't think there was really anything he necessarily could have done about it to prevent that.
Exactly. And, it's unfortunate, but a lot of the races between some of the top players in this tournament, and there's honestly quite a lot of top players in this tournament, it seems like a lot of them do come down to that one unfortunate death where it's like, if only I could have ran away from this enemy, I would have made it to the bottom of the castle, I would have found this item, or I would have found this town, etc., etc. It happens to everyone. That's just how unforgiving this game can be. Dragon Warrior does not let you win until it is good and ready to let you win.
Yes, indeed. Especially the Randomizer. That is the beauty and the pain of it.
We got a really excellent question in chat by Sanjiko. Would not casting the Repel spell make it so that some of the encounters are the weaker enemies, thereby encountering fewer red dragons? And the answer is no. The game does tell if you're going to encounter an enemy that would be considered weak or not, and simply ignores the encounter with Repel.
That's right. The game still generates the battle as normal. The only thing that Repel does is if it's an enemy that the game would have generated for a battle that meets the criteria of, I think you have to have more attack power than it does strength. If that occurs, the battle doesn't happen. I think that's the criteria, but don't quote me on that because I'm not exactly sure what it is on the enemy's end. I just know that it's the player's attack stat that determines whether or not the battle happens. But no, it doesn't eliminate the stronger encounters, it just eliminates the weaker ones.
Okay. I was actually curious about that myself, but...
Yeah, one problem, too, is a lot of the FAQs on Game FAQs have some conflicting information on how a lot of this stuff works. So you gotta be careful with that. Anecdotally, I can say that it's attack power and not strength that does it. I recall buying a broadsword and then suddenly not finding enemies that I was before.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Yes, if you want to try to take advantage of one of those low strength seeds and level on metal slimes exclusively early on, don't buy a weapon.
Yeah, MisterHomes trying to get through this desert to death, and once again runs into the fun police.
Wii U.
Yeah, with only 48 agility, that's going to be a rough time running.
Yep. Even in the end game, running from a red dragon is a dicey proposition.
Absolutely.
With their agility as low as it is now, yeah, this is the unfortunate, but I would say kind of the expected outcome is eventually red dragon is going to chew you up. The fun police.
I'm not sure if that was a mistake or not. MisterHomes just gives up and tries to punch the red dragon instead of running away, but does very minimal damage. So
he's trying to run away again now, so that does look like it was an input error of some kind.
I'm guessing it was either an input error or just the frustration of this isn't working, let's just attack and see what kind of damage I do.
Yeah.
That's also possible. I've been there before, so...
Yeah, it's got to be supremely frustrating. He's died, 3-4 times now just trying to get through this desert. He knows, or feels at least, that Caitlin has got to be on the other side of this desert. It's kind of the only thing he can do at this point.
And meanwhile, Game Boy has returned to and cleared out his mountain cave, so he's got both the staff and the stones now. So the difference between them, thanks or not thanks to the fun police, depending on who you are rooting for, has shortened considerably there, with Game Boy starting to catch up a little bit here.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I mean, Game Boy still has Erdrick's token to find and collect, so he's still a little bit behind on the plot items. He's going to have to get through a golem in Hawksnest to deal with getting the token, but now that they're level 12, that should be a bit easier.
Yeah, the golem is really no issue for them at this level because they have nice equipment, so stats, but much more importantly, they have that heal more spell that they've had all game. The combination of the average stats, the very nice equipment, and heal more basically makes the golem automatic if you were to have to defeat it to pick up the token. Right. What's far more important is that they find Caitlin.
Right. The golem has hurt, which helps a lot as well. So,
absolutely. Just the fact that the golem has hurt makes the fairy flute worthless. You don't even want to use it because the golem is going to waste a significant amount of turns trying to chant that very low damage hurt spell.
Yes, indeed.
So Game Boy's found the tablet cave. We know there's nothing of importance here, but he's going to do his due diligence, pick up the chest, and once he picks this up, he should know very well that both the ring and the sword will be in Charlock.
Unfortunately, even at level 12, he does not have the outside spell to cast, so he's going to spend about 25 seconds manually walking out of the cave. Another metal slime for MisterHomes, but it makes a quick exit before I can hurt more him.
Not quite like some of the other metal slimes that we've seen, that show up, like to troll you by casting a nice, nasty spell at you. You swing at them, they miss. You miss, they run away. They just want to mess with you.
Usually what I find is even if it does stick around and you manage to hit it once or twice, it's usually exactly when you get that second hit that the metal slime says, oh crap, I better run.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Which, you're mentioning, I believe it was Holmes earlier, who was just trying to hurt more of the metal slime, which I think at that point, if you decided, okay, I'm all in, I'm going to try to fight this thing, I'm actually not convinced that hurt more was the worst move there in that case.
No?
Because, you'd only have to hit it. It's only a 1 in 16 chance, but you only need to hit it once in that case instead of 3 times and hope it doesn't run away, so...
Well, let's face it, typically in order to beat a metal slime, on average, once you've gained a couple of levels, you're going to need an excellent move or else it's just going to run away. An excellent move is 1 in 32. A hurt or a hurt more spell to land is 1 in 16, so you're actually better odds casting Hurt or Hurt More if you're actively trying to fight metal slimes before you have the absurdly high attack power to outright kill them in one hit. And Holmes' issues with the Fun Police are still going on here.
He needs to stop having so much fun so the Fun Police will leave him alone.
I have to wonder what sort of criminal activity that he's been up to, because those guys are just not leaving him alone at all right now.
Too much fun.
I think Mr. Holmes has had all the fun he wants to have this season.
Mm-hmm. So we've got a very interesting looking section of the map that Holmes is exploring right now.
I think he is out of the portion of the desert with the red dragons, but I don't want a commentator's curse him. Oh, we do see a town.
Oh, Repel has lost its effect, and it's Cantlin. I think that was the last one. I think
it had to be Cantlin. Yeah, we've seen
Cantlin,
everything else.
Right. Okay. He's gonna make the obvious stop there at the inn.
Naturally, gotta refresh the MP because there is a somewhat painful path to take to this old man who knows where the armor's at.
Yep. So we'll be getting our coordinates here.
So we have 29 north and 56 east. That doesn't seem too bad to try to count out manually. The shape of the map is not the most convenient thing in the world for that, but it's certainly doable. And I'm guessing with the intentional suicide there. And I'm not too sure that we've even seen the swamp cave yet.
I don't think we have, because the tangential basement was the grave, correct?
That's right.
We have seen the swamp cave. It was a bit northeast of Breckenary, and I believe put him west of Tanagal from the other exit. Mr. Holmes has seen it.
Ah, thank you, Tristal.
Yeah, he tried to go through it to backdoor before he had seen Garenham. And Game Boy gets a slight peek at where Cantlin is as well, so he is right on his heels.
This is a really, really close race right now.
Yeah,
I am
loving it. Looks like Game Boy might be coming from the other direction, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
So.
There was this nice little lake there, just north of Cantlin, it looks like. Very picturesque. Nice place to go fishing.
Yeah, a good vacation spot, I would say.
So you can see now Mr. Holmes very carefully taking one step at a time. He is counting out those coordinates that the old man gave him.
Mm-hmm.
He knows Erdrick's armor is buried in that location.
Yep. This is not the easiest thing to count out these coordinates, though. We have seen multiple people mess it up in one way or another.
Not only have we seen it happen multiple times in races, we have seen Game Boy do it in races.
That's right.
So it'll be a little interesting to see if he decides to get some GPS here or not.
We've also seen the count determine the outcome of tournament races a couple of times, too. We've seen a couple of players, unfortunately, mistake west for east or write the wrong number down and just waste far too much time trying to count it out or even GPS the coordinates. It's very important to make sure that you know exactly what those coordinates are. And as we saw from both players when they were talking to that old man, a very deliberate pause on that dialogue box because they are probably writing that down, holding it up against their game, like eye for eye, checking it character for character, making sure that you have those coordinates correct, because it's a huge time loss. Upwards of 5 minutes or more if you're trying to count this out, or if you're chasing the wrong coordinates with GPS. This is the one specific detail you want to make sure that you get absolutely correct every time.
Yes, indeed. In my second round race against Nest Cardinality, I actually screwed up the I didn't count far enough west, I believe was what it was. I tried to kind of shortcut it toward the end, and I should not have done that. And that was one of the big reasons I lost that race.
Oh, we've got some desperation searching.
Yeah.
Oh.
Holmes is in the right ballpark, but he's on the wrong base right now.
Yeah, we can confirm he went to the north and to the east.
He went
so
northeast,
he's got the cardinal directions correctly, but the number's just a bit off. It's so easy to get distracted by enemies popping up or having to take weird turns. I mean, it's a big time loss having to cast return and go back.
Yeah.
And he's given up on it, so Holmes has just lost about 3 minutes to a failed count. This is Game Boy's chance. If he can count this accurately, they're going to end up being very, very close right now.
Even worse, he went into a town hoping to find a store that's the Wing of the Wyvern, but he found Rimmeldar, the one town
that does not have an item shop. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, so his recourse now is just to walk in the swamp until he dies.
Yep. This is an intentional death for sure, but not before at least tossing off a Hurtmore at that Magiwyvern. No reason to let that kill you. That's a nice 70 experience points there. Oh no, now we're seeing similar desperation on Game Boy. No, he's got it! There it is! There it is. Holmes was just about 5...
Oh, there it is.
5 tiles too far north when he was searching for it there. He must have incorrectly counted whenever he was going north. Mistook a 20 for a 25 or something like that. Because he was definitely in the right area, but he was about 5 north from where we saw Game Boy searching there.
Right.
Wow, this is now so close. I mean, some people saying Game Boy took the lead. He does still have to go obtain the token and then go mix up the ingredients for the rainbow drop, but it's very close right now.
There is no lead being taken here. This is an equalization. We are dead even right now. We have Holmes who needs to count out this armor, and we have Game Boy who needs to find that token. Apart from that, the experience difference is completely negligible, and they are simply one necessary item apart from each other before they can hop into Charlock and look for the sword, gain the levels they need to finish it up. So far, I think this finals match has lived up to everything that we've wanted to see. It is neck and neck right now, and I am very excited.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. This is very much neck and neck. And as the Ultimo is saying, the end game grind is going to have to happen as well. And both of their attack power is very low, although their agility is better, but not great. So I'm wondering if it's even necessarily feasible at this point to even try and dive down into Charlock and.
Oh no, it's completely feasible to dive down at these stats because remember, they're not trying to conserve MP on the way down. They're just running away, and if they're a hit away from death, they're going to cast heal more, and just keep going there. It's plenty easy. On the regular game, if you're doing a speed run without the crazy RNG manipulation that allows you to beat the game at level 7, typically you're making a Charlock dive at level 13 with fairly similar stats to what both players have right now. But you don't have the luxury of heal more, but you're still going down there to get that sword. So it's plenty doable right now.
Yeah, actually, I'd be surprised if MisterHomes didn't just go straight to Charlock and try and grab the sword. If nothing else, it's going to make grinding on golems a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he's doing right now.
Yep. Looks like it.
Still a close race as long as Game Boy can find Hawksness quickly enough. He does have a very slight experience edge over MisterHomes, although MisterHomes' second count was successful, so he is now inside of Charlock. Still a lot of Dragon Warrior left to be played. Still a lot of opportunity for the Fun Police to ruin everyone's days. It's impossible to declare a winner at this point. We're just going to have to sit back and watch and see what happens here.
Right, yeah, this is going to be
a very nice level up for Game Boy. The first real nice level up that we've seen all match, I would say.
Yeah, the opposite of an MTI level.
Yes, indeed.
Multiple double-digit gains. Which is really what these guys want, because their stats are looking really pathetic at this point. They don't want a level 23 seed.
Well, at level 14, the stats are actually looking pretty much average. Maybe the MP is a little lower than you would expect.
Low, yeah.
And the strength is just slightly under the curve at 59. You'd probably want to be on average 64, 65 at 14, I would think. But agility is a little bit above average, and HP is just about right where you'd expect it to be right now.
All right, MisterHomes getting the good news of level 14.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, you know what? It looks like it was a bit of a MTI level after all, with 0 MP gained.
0 MP! I love it!
14, 13, 12, 0.
So Game Boy is inside Hawksness battling the Golem right now. He's going to pick up that token. And naturally, once he does that, I think his first course of action is going to be to get back to Tantagel, walk north a little bit, turn in his items for that rainbow drop, and start looking for that sword as we see MisterHomes doing right now.
Yes, indeed.
Because let's face it, with his Heal More spell and plenty of MP left, there is simply 0 chance that this Golem is going to defeat him. And there's the kill, and there's the token.
Yes, with the ending critical hit there.
And it looks like he's deciding he's just gonna go ahead and grind on these until he runs out of resources.
And you know what? That's not necessarily a terrible decision right now, because he certainly knows where the sword and, less importantly, but potentially nice, the ring are.
Right.
He knows where both the Jerk Cave and Charlock Castle are. While he's got the resources left, he might as well battle the Golem until he runs out, because it is 255 experience in battle.
Right.
They're not the quickest battles, unfortunately, which is one of the big arguments against trying to grind against a Golem. But the per battle yield is simply the highest in the game.
Right. It's that and, of course, the fun police, which, as we've seen in this seed, you want nothing to do with. So.
Absolutely not, no. They just attack over and over again. Even at very high levels with a good defense stat, they can still break 40 on you. You want nothing to do with those guys.
Alright, here's MisterHomes in the treasury. And he's found the sword.
That sword was bottom.
Surprisingly, it looks like he's not even checking the rest for the ring. Did we miss either competitor finding the ring?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't recall seeing it either.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know why he's not checking the rest of those chests in that case, but...
The ring... Okay, to be fair, the ring being the difference between you being a favorite and you being an underdog only happens in very specific combinations of stats. So... there's perhaps some justification for not looking for the ring in the other 3 chests, even though he's already there.
I mean, that's...
Yeah.
I appreciate you playing devil's advocate there, but man, it's free.
As someone who has been in those seeds where it has been the difference between winning and losing the fight with the Dragon Lord, I absolutely cannot see why he didn't at least try those other couple chests there.
I agree with both of you. I just tried to simply think of why not? Why not at this point? It's a 1 in 4 shot to find the fighter's ring. That's 2 more attack. I mean, it doesn't really sound like a whole lot, but it's certainly not insignificant, especially when there's still a fair amount of grinding to be done. That could save you an attack in the odd battle here and there. 1 less attack, that's 5 seconds saved in the battle right there, the way that the text crawls around. That's the difference between a win or a loss against Dragonlord later on. If they end up going with, an attack power that's somewhere between, say, 81, 84, that fighter's ring makes a huge difference right then.
Yeah, especially when you're getting to those final levels where you're just on the cusp of being able to go attack the Dragon Lord or not. The target attack power we're really going for is about 125. You can go a little bit earlier if you have other stats. But yeah, 124, 125 is what you're aiming for. And if a level boundary might put you at 122, you'll be wishing you had that ring, maybe.
Yes, for sure. There actually is no difference in damage range between 124 and 125. They're both 6 to 12 because of how the calculations work there. So 124 is really the bare minimum you want to shoot for most of the time, unless you're looking at a seed where the MP or the HP growths are completely outrageous. Don't fight Dragon Lord with less than 124 attack. That's not a good idea.
Right. I'm a bit more conservative than that, even. I actually, if I can pull it off, I like to be at about 130 for my attack power, but that's me.
Well, 130 is definitely a much safer number. And
Indeed.
There's definitely a lot of situations where playing the last battle safe is going to win you the race. It really depends on what the odds are at the level before that. If you have a fight where you have... say you want to fight Dragon Lord at 130 attack. Bare minimum. You don't want to go until that. You're looking at a fight before the level that would bring you to that, where you've got, say, 124 attack and, let's say, 104 MP. That's 13 heal mores. That fight is maybe a coin flip at best. So in that case, I'd say playing it safe and gaining that extra level, and if it ends up giving you enough strength to go to 130, the fight's suddenly automatic. You could win the race there if the other player, for example, decides they want to try that very borderline fight and either lose, get killed on the way down. There's definitely a lot of arguments to be made for just playing it safe with your stats. And knowing what the odds are on any given Dragon Lord fight are also very important if you make that decision to go down. Usually, though, it doesn't seem like it comes into play. Most of the time, when it's time to go end the game, you'll see a really big level up, I find, and you'll just know that, yes, this is the level. This is it. This is easy. It's very rare that you see a really tiny level up suddenly push your odds from hugely improbable to slightly better than average. Those are the rare seeds, but I think those are the more interesting ones because you see a lot of really unique decisions being made. Those are the ones where you see someone praying to whatever RNGs is of their choice for that one last desperate hurt more spell to land.
Yes, indeed. And but you are right. It's more often than not, or at least as often as not, what ends up happening to determine, when you go is you just get a giant, 20-plus strength level up, or, some kind of double-digit strength level up, where you're like, oh, okay, I'm definitely over the threshold now, let's go. But I think, kind of knowing the sort of baseline stats with which to fight the Dragon Lord and have a good shot, and, being able to mentally adjust upward or downward if you think one of the stats or two of the stats can compensate for a weak third one. I feel like that's kind of the difference between a decent Dragon Warrior randomizer player and a truly top-tier one, is being able to adjust, because as they're grinding here, let's kind of go over this a little bit. So the general... I would say fighting the Dragon Lord and figuring out the stats is really more art than science, but in general, there are kind of some baselines that you're looking for. And those baselines are, you want a minimum of 97 hit points, because that'll allow you to withstand 2 consecutive maximum fire breaths. Oh, another level here. Oh, speaking of giant level ups,
whoa!
There you go.
Whoa!
Wow. And the crazy thing is...
That was pretty beefy.
Okay, yep, that's a big one. I was going to say he's nowhere close, but I forgot he has the broadsword.
That's not quite enough to go. That's not quite enough to go.
No.
Game Boy, from what it looks to me like what he's doing here is that because he knows that the sword is in Charlock, it looks like he's gambling hard, and rightfully so, on it being in the treasury. he's going to get to that magic level up before going down and pick up the sword on the way to Dragon Lord.
Yep.
That's what it looks like. And right now, on this particular golem battle that we have between both players, we have a difference of 5 experience points separating them right now.
Wow.
This is extremely close. One of them does not have the sword, so assuming they're both just going to grind this golem until the end of time, we'll probably see Game Boy fall behind just a little bit because of the difference in attack power, unfortunately. Right. But this is still very much anyone's game right now. This is an extremely close race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So besides the 97 hit points, as you mentioned, you generally want a minimum of about 124 attack power, and the higher the better. And then you want a minimum of, I believe it's 96 MP, which will give you enough for 12 heal mores in the remake. One of the things we didn't go over is that MP cost, magic cost, has also been adjusted from the NES original versions to those of the remakes. So everything costs a little bit less on average. In particular, heal more costs 8 magic per cast instead of 10. Did I say hurt more? I meant heal more, if I did. But anyway, those are kind of the baselines, but as we mentioned, it is more art than science. And, you know, if two of those 3 stats are, you know, particularly high, it can definitely make up for, you know, a slight deficiency in the third. Or if you have one stat that's particularly crazy, it can even almost sometimes single-handedly make up for the other 2.
Absolutely. I've seen seeds where the stats did not necessarily align like this, but I've seen plenty of seeds where someone's defeated Dragon Lord and only had to cast Heal More 5 times. That's 40 MP. Right. You'd always have way more than that because of the way that the stat curves simply make it likely that you'll have at least average stats across the board if you have one really impressive stat.
Right.
But if you're swinging 15 to 30 against Dragon Lord 2, which is something we have seen in some of these races,
absolutely,
you're not going to have to heal yourself a whole lot over the course of the battle.
All right, the very first off-stream randomizer seed I did, I don't remember if it was just that I had really low max MP, or just that I had used a lot of heal mores getting down there, but I fought the Dragon Lord with something with like 56 MP when I got to him or something like that. And the fight was actually easy because my stats were so high. My attack power was that absurdly high. So, you know, you can see something like that, but whether we will is another story here.
Yeah. And it can be completely the opposite, too. I've seen some seeds where you'd only have 78 strength. With the sword and ring, that's 120 attack, which is 5 to 10 damage on Dragon Lord 2. That's not good. You should not be thinking about fighting him there. But you look at your MP, and you have 140 plus max MP. That's a ton of heal mores.
Yes.
That's a winnable fight. You have to try something like that.
Yeah, and one of Sparkover's races, I think her first race, or maybe the second one, her attack power was quite low. It was just over 120, but she had something like 160 MP. So it's 20 heal mores that she had. So even with the absurdly low attack power, that's just so many heal mores that it was a very winnable fight. And she won it, I believe, with several heal mores to spare, in fact, if I recall correctly.
Wow, look what we have here with level 16.
That was a big level up there.
Wow. MisterHomes, taking a glance, decides he doesn't quite have enough.
Mm-hmm. He's not going to chance it. That fight actually is winnable, but the player is not a favorite under those circumstances. That's not quite enough to be able to win it reliably, but it is definitely winnable.
I'll tell you what would help him out a couple percentage points. The Fighter's Ring.
A Fighter's Ring?
Absolutely. Fighter's Ring makes a huge difference in this case, actually. On average, that's 8, possibly 9 more damage over the course of the battle. And whenever you're swinging between 6 and 12, you're averaging 9 in attack. Going from 6 to 12 to 6 to 13 over the course of a very borderline fight where you can win, you can't win. that fighter's ring makes a huge difference. That would take him from, say, maybe 40% or less to win to 60-ish% to win. It's not enough to say the fight's automatic, but it's not nothing.
Right. And, depending on, going from 40% to 60%, being at 60%, depending on where you think you are in the race, you might decide, oh, that's good enough, I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you think you're behind. I've definitely, taken gambles like that, where I've said, even if I'm only a little bit better than a coin flip, or even not quite a coin flip, I think this is my best chance to win this race, even though it's not a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes it feels like it's the right play because you just, whenever you're getting to this point, we're past an hour now, we're almost an hour 15 here.
Yep.
Both the players are wondering, am I ahead, am I behind, and worrying constantly.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I think we could see a pretty exciting finish here. MisterHomes has left Hawksness, and he wants to heal up here. I'm kind of wondering, because I'm looking at that outrageous agility stat, if he's recognized that he's damage broken everything inside of Charlock that isn't a red dragon, a armored knight, or a golem. Because at 98 defense, there's not a whole lot in there that can hurt him. He could very comfortably go for the level on the way down strats. And if he gets even 2 points of strength, the fight goes from being questionable to laughable right now. Assuming he has the sense to grab the fighter's ring also, that is. But no, it looks like he's heading back to Hawksness, and Game Boy hit that level 16, and he's still also fighting the golem, so neither player willing to take a risk on this level 16 unless we see Game Boy try the exact strategy that I suggested, which would be a lot more complicated for him. His would be get to Charlock, level on the way down, grab the sword, fight Dragon Lord. He can still win the race if he realizes that that's an opportunity for him here because of that very high defense stat that both players have right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely taking a risk doing that. The other trick, too, is MP is one of the lower stats they've got, and gaining the level on the way down to Dragon Lord, you're not able to escape and get that MP refreshed.
Right, if you get a big MP level, that's not going to help you.
Right,
if you play that strategy, what you want to see is either a modest strength gain or a really big HP gain, which would basically guarantee you a lot more double attacks, which would offset the fact that you didn't necessarily get a good strength growth. It's debatable whether or not it's a good strategy, but in a race, especially if you feel like you're behind, it's a risk that you have to take.
Right.
And right now, with both players pretty much playing it by the book, you kind of get the feel that they both feel like they're doing pretty good right now. So I'm not too sure if we're going to see that, but Game Boy is still on the way to his town to refresh his MP. If he suddenly makes a beeline for Charlock, this is going to be a really interesting finish.
All right, we'll see what's going on here. And, well, it's hard to say because they've been making trips back and forth. I was going to say that Holmes looks like he's opened up a bit of an experience lead, but I don't know if that's the sword or just from where we are in kind of the grinding recovery cycle, if you will.
Mostly it actually is the sword, because he's able to kill the golem slightly faster on average. He has pulled ahead. He went from about a 300 experience lead to about a 600 experience lead, and then with Game Boy having to retreat to refresh, he's pulled ahead just a little bit further. And after Holmes kills this particular golem that he's fighting, we're going to see what level 17 is, and I think it's incredibly likely that 17 is going to be the go level based on what the stats are right now. We'd have to see a pretty bad MTI level for this not to be go time.
Right. And that is not the MTI level.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, that is going to be go time.
Yeah,
I think even before I saw the HP MP, I think even just the 7 strength was like, okay, yep, that's it.
He didn't even look at his statistics. He says, nope, I'm casting return. We're going.
Yep.
Mhm.
But then the HP and MP, yeah, that absolutely seals it. So
So
Mr.
this
Holmes is
race,
going to be on his way.
is not over yet. Charlock can still be very unfair as you're trying to get down, conserve your MP, because despite the surprisingly high MP total, all of a sudden, they're still only at 131 attack. On average, you're still going to want a good, solid 11 heal mores to be the favorite on the fight there.
Yep. And looks like he has the MP for 12 right now. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well, another thing to point out too is he has a massive agility of 100.
Wow.
I mean, that's going to be huge. Not only just diving in Charlock, but getting more double attacks against the Dragon Lord. I mean, we might see a Dragon Lord attack him for like 24 or something ludicrously low like that, and that's just
absolutely.
Right now, it's also the strategy at this point is presumably going to be mad dash on the way down to the Dragon Lord. And, you know, despite the agility, sometimes the game will just say no way and, you know, not let you run a bunch of times despite the odds and just kill you. And
yeah, it's not just the fun police either, you know, it's confirmation bias, but a lot of times you'll find like an Axe Knight, something you're supposed to run away from 80% of the time, and you just straight up fail 6 runs in a row.
Does not do it, yep. For me, it's
happened to many of us,
you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me, it's Armor Knights. I definitely have had seeds where I've gone from like 120 HP to dead on one Armor Knight because I just could not run from it.
Absolutely. And you know, forget the odds. I've had seeds where I've had that huge agility, but it'd be something completely innocuous like the werewolf. Couldn't run away from a werewolf and it would just cast Hurt More every turn. Yep. It's not inconceivable that Holmes takes a death trying to get down here. We're not rooting for or against that. As commentators, we are impartial. But the race is not over until it's over. That's the kind of game that this is what we're trying to say here. But honestly, at this point, you really have to like Holmes' chances to just seal this thing right now.
Yes. As you know, as we were saying, definitely not a lock yet, but if I'm Mr. Holmes and you tell me I'm in this position, I will take that every single time.
Absolutely. There is zero reason not to run to the bottom of Charlock and try to fight Dragon Lord right now. Though that was an outrageous level up. As long as he doesn't have to cast Heal more than once on the way down, he's a favorite. If he has to cast it twice, he's probably still a favorite to win the fight, but it's at least conceivable that he could lose it outside of an input error.
I mean, that defense is so high, though. I mean, he got attacked for 2 damage by a Stone Man. That's unreal.
They are broken.
Right,
They're broken. At 100 defense, Stone Men are broken. Just forget about it. They can't do nothing to you.
Yeah, the humiliation of being unable to run from a Stone Man twice is, you know, something he's just going to have to stomach while he's taking 2 damage and 7 damage.
Yes, exactly.
But that'll easily be healed by the magic of the Erdrick's armor.
Right.
We still
now with his stats too, he doesn't even need to go back to the treasury to find the fighter's ring. It's actually a waste of time at this point. If he makes it to the Dragon Lord with all 12 heal mores, the fight is free.
You should be good, yeah.
Gameboy finally picks up his rainbow drop.
Yep.
He is on the way to Charlock because it's right here. He says, taste the rainbow, builds Rainbow Bridge, and he is on his way as well.
Yep, he knows he's got the levels, he knows he's got the stats, he just has to pick up the sword on the way and get in there and fight him, but Holmes definitely has a commanding lead on that right now. The mini-boss is an Axe Knight, so that is a complete non-issue for Holmes. He only has the weak Fire Breath, which can only do something between 10 and 16, I think, with Erdrick's armor. And on top of that, if the Axe Knight chose to attack, he is long gone.
Defense broken a while ago. Yeah.
Oh man, one last visit from the fun
the fun police, and it got the preemptive.
Immediately runs away. That 100 agility.
Yep.
One thing of note, he is out of herbs for the Dragon Lord 1 fight, but this is it.
This is it.
Yep, here we go.
If Holmes wins this fight, he's the champion of the tournament, and myself and my fellow commentators, we are just going to shut up, sit back, and watch the show, because our voices are just going to ruin this. And he's down! The Dragon Lord is down!
Both players, no doubt, absolutely nervous, glancing at the speedruns
They're
live chat,
gotta be
waiting
looking,
for the other
yep.
player to finish.
Mhm.
Game Boy is going to get the bad news. And MisterHomes has finished in first place with a time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 54 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Well done.
we have our champion from the first ever Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament. It is MisterHomes. Everyone,
Indeed.
give this man some love in chat. Let's see all the
Hooray.
GGs in the world right now.
Simply stunning. So well done.
Indeed.
Game Boy is so close. He got the sword. He's
the
on his
sword,
way. I think
yeah.
he's still going to finish it out.
He's probably gonna finish
Absolutely.
it out, yeah.
He's either going to finish it out or show us what accepting the Dragon Lord's offer gives us.
That's right. Someone did ask about that earlier in the chat, so.
And from in IRC from MisterHomes, we simply have a message that says, "Oh my God." Can't wait to get in both of these players in here for an interview after this one. But first we have to let Game Boy finish up here.
Yes.
And from what we saw from MisterHomes' fight, they're going to have identical stats here, identical everything. Game Boy definitely the favorite to win this one. He's going to be a good sport, finish it out, and he shouldn't finish more than a few minutes behind Holmes here. It was very close race for the most part. And there was a point where it looked like they were just about equal after Holmes failed a count on the world map. But Holmes electing to go into Charlock and pick up the sword, whereas Game Boy went straight to grinding, he did momentarily take over that experience lead because he focused on grinding rather than going for the sword. But once Holmes got the sword and got out and started fighting those golems, he was able to trim into that experience lead and eventually overcome it. And then it was time to go into Charlock. He didn't have to look in the treasury for the sword, and that's where the real difference in finishing times between both of these players was in this race. Otherwise, we saw very similar philosophies about playing the game, in how they both spread out and explored the map, which enemies they were willing to fight. Very, very close the whole way through until that critical decision at the end by Holmes to just take something of a chance to get in there and get that sword early on.
Right, diving for the sword, I think, is really what won him that race, quite honestly.
Exactly. It was dead even the entire way, other than that.
Yeah, which is almost surprising, too, because Game Boy did have that one really costly death in Mountain Cave that probably lost him about 3 minutes. Obviously, that's not making the entire difference here. The sword probably made a bigger difference than that, just because it made the grind much faster. But, I mean, yeah, without that sword and that unfortunate death for Game Boy, I think Game Boy actually takes it.
Yeah, because I think the costly death from Game Boy, I think that was actually offset by Mr. Holmes messing up the armor count the first time and having to do it again. So,
yeah, I'd say I'd have to agree with you, MTR. There, they were both costly. In Holmes' case, it was a costly mistake. In Game Boy's case, it was a costly. The game doesn't want me to do anything. But they both lost somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes apiece on each of those occurrences there. And we have Game Boy finishing up here in second place. A very, very respectable second place, I will say, because he is, in fact, second place in the entire tournament. So let's equally give some love for Game Boy in the chat here, because he's number 2 after all. And he finished with a time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 43 seconds. Yeah, and I'm hoping we can get both of these beautiful human beings in here talk about that race.
Indeed. Well, I'm here. Am I here?
Yeah, Game Boy, a valiant fight. You did manage to beat 25 other people in this tournament, but not the end boss, Mr. Holmes.
Not the end boss. Well, he's the man. He's the man. He needs to get in here so I can congratulate him here.
Ness Carnality revealed his true form, and it was Mr. Holmes.
Shaggy took off the mask and revealed it.
Well, here he is. How you doing, Ness Cardinality? Actually,
Mr. Holmes as well. Congratulations, sir.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Holmes, I could call you both Ness Cardinality and Jackamus at the same time. I didn't think about diving into Charlock.
Oh yeah, what did we have in strength at that point? 42 or something ridiculous?
It was in the 40s.
Yeah, and what's the power difference from the sword? The Erdrick sword and the flame sword, is it 12?
Yeah,
it is 12.
It was 12, and I had a broadsword, so
it's a bloody miracle I beat the first golem anyway. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I don't think it woke up, and I was doing like
it did
12.
not. It did not. You put it to sleep once, and he just sat there and took it the entire fight.
And then I crit it for like 35, and I laughed really hard.
I bet.
Yeah, you had so many critical hits against golems that whole time.
Not a ton, but on other stuff.
I counted at least 3.
Oh, okay. There was one that was definitely like a redundant critical after I did like 130.
Yeah,
it felt like the excellent moves that both of you guys got on golems basically evened itself out. The real difference on the grind there was that Holmes went and got the Erdrick sword early on. So we had a broadsword versus Erdrick sword golem grind, and while Game Boy had a slight experience lead going in, Holmes gradually equalized that and then pulled away, and then by the time you were both ready to go into Charlock, Game Boy also had to go check the treasury for the sword there. Up until that point, you guys were just dead even the whole way through. It was a really great race to watch and commentate on.
So I'm kind of smacking myself for... I got the sword and I was like, do I need anything else? No, I don't, but I need the fighter's ring.
We were wondering about that.
And I just totally forgot. Was it in there?
I don't think we know for sure if it was in the treasury or if it was in the vanilla sword spot. Game Boy, did you find the ring eventually?
Yeah, I found the ring. It was right next to the sword.
Was bottom left. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go figure.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Oh man, I'm so glad. Like, obviously, okay, to fill in Game Boy, because obviously the commentators know what I was doing. I royally screwed up counting for the armor the very first time,
Oh.
and
Been there.
I was nowhere even close.
Oh, okay.
It's
I was
not
off
like
by a few
You
steps,
actually
but-
were pretty close.
Yeah,
we
you
were able to
that
watch
far
you.
off, like 5 tiles.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
like-
It looks like you somehow missed a 5 going north, or when you had to go back south after going around the water there. That's all you were off on the northwest. You were perfectly there on the east-west aspect of it. You were pretty close there.
Yeah, but to be fair, I'm not checking like a 6x6 tile radius. So
Yeah.
Right.
I
So-
checked like 12 tiles and then that was it.
Yeah.
So before everybody runs away, I need to take on the role of tournament director, if you don't mind, and take a moment to thank.
I
if you
think
don't
that's
mind.
you're right. Yeah.
Take a moment to thank a lot of people who's really made this tournament possible. First of all, we had the programmer, of course. That'd be McGrew. He also was a contestant, and he restreamed, he commentated, he pretty much did everything. Obviously, without this, it would not be possible. Also, I want to thank a couple of people who helped me out with the layout. Which first of all is Deranged Squirrel Fighter, who he just trained me with all that, and as well as Feasel, who gave us the background here. So many thanks to both of them for making the layout possible. I'd like to thank Spark over and Nest Cardinality for the pregame show, pre-tournament show. They also were both contestants, restreamers, commentators. Really appreciated them jumping in on that. And then I'd like to thank my restreamers. Was all those. Most of them were contestants and commentators, but really appreciated them. Without these restreamers, we wouldn't have all these matches restreaming. I know a lot of them restreamed on like 5 seconds notice.
Yeah.
So
Big shout out to JLo7 there.
yeah,
He was always available to restream.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, he's the man, and then we also have a bunch of commentators as well, which is just about everybody here, including Crystal, and Jackamus was a restreamer as well, and MTI as well. By the way, congratulations to all 3 of you on your grand final assignment.
Thank you.
You all made the grand final anyway.
Indeed. It
It's
was
almost like we also won.
Yeah. I was mentioning, beforehand, I was mentioning before the race started that like I was nervous and I was just commentating it, so I can't imagine what you and MisterHomes were feeling like.
Oh man, yeah. Let me tell you, and finally, the contestants as well. I mean, obviously, if we didn't have contestants, we wouldn't have a tournament. So many thanks to all of these people. I am eternally grateful. Thank you very much. And now back to the seed.
So I guess if I may interrupt very briefly, I think I speak for everybody when we want to say thank you to Game Boy for being the head organizer of all of this. Without him, this probably wouldn't have been possible at all.
Oh,
So,
100%. Thank you, sir.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It was just something. Oh, we have to have a tournament. So I came back. I will say this. I came back to classical gaming like this, like after, I don't know, a 4 or 5 year break. And it's just this community is so wonderful. And I also forgot to thank all the viewers. If you've enjoyed this tournament, if you've enjoyed the product that McGrew has come out, if you've enjoyed all of this, download the program, get on Twitch. We love to have you. It doesn't matter what your skill level is. It really doesn't matter. And I'll say it again. The seeds don't matter, you know. The 13 seed won the tournament, and quite frankly, the 13 seeds eventually. I'm not going to guarantee it, but eventually he's probably going to become number 1 on Speedruns Live. That's my prediction. So,
and to those people who haven't necessarily played Dragon Warrior but enjoyed watching this, I have never successfully completed a game of Vanilla Dragon Warrior.
That's great.
Literally.
How dare you?
Yeah. I think
I don't blame him.
If I did play it, it would just be ruined. I would just do the old speedrun route. I just watched this
After
cardinality.
playing this for so long, I hate Vanilla Dragon Warrior. It's so much of a grind.
yeah.
I appreciate the original Dragon Warrior's place and influence on gaming history. To play through it again today, goddamn, would it be a slog?
Well, nowadays with speed hacks, this thing is over in an hour. So if you think 90 minutes is too long, play with the speed hacks. You also can play with very fast experience grind, and the game's over in under an hour. So most of the time, unless you get Jacobus to seed.
I think I was just about to say that, man. I think sometimes you just need to suffer and play this for like 3.5 hours or more. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, that couldn't have happened to a better person.
Oh man, you got me right in the old heartbeat there.
So I have to ask, Mr. Holmes, are you gonna have a celebratory drink after this?
After? No.
Or now. You can have it now. That's fine.
I might just have to do that.
All right, cool, man. I'm already raising my particular drink. I'm hoping you're doing the same. We'll have to do a, de facto clinking of the glasses there because we're, half a country apart there. But
yeah. Or across border lines, and I don't have anything in my water jug. Need to work on that.
Yeah, you need to work on being more Canadian because obviously that's how you're successful at Dragon Warrior Randomizer. If this tournament taught us anything.
Well, yeah, and Canada definitely won this tournament. The top four finishers were 3 of them were Canadian. So Jacobus, Nest Cardinality, and MisterHomes. So I was a lone American.
I have
nobody chanting USA, USA.
No.
He was American. He was American. He was the lone American.
Yeah. So apologies to my fellow Americans. I didn't finish the job that time, but no, that's okay. I mean, the winner couldn't be a better guy. I mean, he's definitely got it. But when we get to Dragon Warrior 2 Randomizer, Mr. Holmes, you're mine.
Hey, I am looking forward to it probably more than anybody else here.
I'm excited about Dragon Warrior 2 Randomizer.
Playable.
I have to replay Dragon Warrior 2 in some form between now and then. So
yeah. So since we stole hockey from Canada, no, reminder everybody that ice hockey is the national winter sport of Canada.
It's true.
And
it's
the national summer sport of Canada.
No, it is lacrosse. That is lacrosse.
Lacrosse is just a national sport.
No.
It is the official national sport.
Yeah, it is.
What?
Legitimately.
Yeah, but I don't care if that's official or not. Let's face it, we're all watching the Jays come summertime now. Yeah.
Actually, what's interesting is Saskatoon just got a pro lacrosse team, and it's actually insanely popular.
No way.
Yeah, it's more. They get like 3 times as many seats than like the junior hockey league team.
That's actually impressive.
Yeah, it's awesome. But anyway, I digress.
Digress away.
Well, Holmes, I know we've kind of been, randomly off topic talking about whatever there, but what I really want to know is on that last run down to Charlock and that Dragon Warrior fight, how many times did you turn and look at IRC, and how high was your heart rate as you finished off this race?
Well, I don't have a Fitbit, but I will tell you I looked at IRC as soon as I hit level 17. At Poxness.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Because everything I did, like, I know my opponent is equally capable, and here I'm thinking, man, I got killed by red dragons like 6 freaking times.
This is very true.
Trying to go to Catlin, and I'm just glad I persisted. I'm like, no, this is like the only area I haven't searched, just like northwest of Cole.
Yes.
So, folks, I'm going to now I'm going to jump to another topic. When this conversation is over, Zarnax has created a vanilla Dragon Warrior seed with very fast experience and speed hacks. So I propose that we do like a celebratory race or something like that.
Oh my god, I'm so in on this.
Vanilla
do I
Dragon
get-
Warrior.
where's the thingy? How do I join it? What's the SRL thing?
Zarnax, I assume you will do the honors on that. Somebody will.
Is it? Should I be looking at the Twitch stream? Find it, or it's
No,
gonna
this
be in
was on
Discord?
Discord.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he'll get it started. He set up the channel. All right, there. So everybody get in on Speedruns Live, and we're gonna play like celebratory, sort of not randomized Dragon Warrior.
Okay, I think I know what to do.
Uh,
oh god! Are we gonna seriously have to do the 5 to like 12 gold grind?
No,
Not necessarily.
no.
Oh
beat
my
up the,
goodness!
We'll beat
Maybe?
up the Goldmen. Yeah, that's actually one of the propositions. Yup, Vanilla Dragon Warrior. Nothing randomized. We're just doing remix, XP, and 50% experience requirements.
Oh, that's not too bad at all. That's an hour and a half tops then. It's not terribly randomized, but that's probably an hour and a half. Tops.
I could tell you it's about it. I will tell you it's probably going to be under an hour and a half. I've done it.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
So
it-
it's ultra it's ultra rando except for the map, or like are the enemy zones same as vanilla?
no, nothing's randomized.
Just the experience.
Yeah, just the experience gain and the 50% experience. So,
Right.
so like if you kill a metal slime, you still get 255. And if
So
you
you're
kill
not
an
gonna
armored knight, you
More
get
to
a...
like level 17 or 19 or whatever it is.
Yep, exactly.
I have a
Okay.
cunning plan already.
Yeah.
It's so cunning. I didn't just use some of my cunning. I used all.
All of it.
Oh yes.
All of it. Gasp.
Last place incoming.
Hey, that'll
Hey,
get my revenge.
Hey,
Revenge!
Holmes, man, you got a title to defend now. You got to win this next race, or else you forfeit your title. That's how these things work.
Okay.
No, King of the Hill. Actually, one of the things I want to do is like a Dragon Warrior race of the month, randomizer race of the month. So we all come back and we go on a big time channel or whatever, Nest Cardinality or High Spirits or whoever, and we just have like a one-on-one match. And the rules can just be agreed to the racers. If you want to do ultra fast, no, that's fine. If you want to do speed hacks, if you want to do like you have to search every single tile, yeah, that's fine. Well, okay, we might have to. if you want to,
very important.
oh,
Did you search the single tile bridge square?
I did.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, you both did. You both did.
Yep.
You fulfilled your obligations. Everyone is very proud of you both for that.
I was going
I
to
was
bring that up when
disappointed
you said search every single tile. Yeah.
I was disappointed I didn't get an encounter on the tile, but what can you do?
Oh well.
I mean,
Not-
how epic
not-
would it have
not
been
everyone.
if the location were actually there? If you find Erdrick's armor suddenly,
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
what a massive jump!
Well,
I just, like, quit.
We did know it was on the map. We knew it was on the map. So it's only a 1 in
Yeah. I don't know.
1 in like 10,000 something ish.
16,384, I think. Something
Thank
like
you,
that.
Tristal. Thank
Well,
you.
it's minus whatever water tiles there are, though. But yeah, 1 in a lot.
Or maybe it's a power or two, one more than that.
I'm going to try to get Zarnax to post the ROM in Discord so we can get her going. But man, this tournament's just been fun. This like went
been
off without a
great,
hitch. Yeah, and so again, many thanks to just everybody I wrote down.
I don't know. Personally, I think there were 2 hitches, and it's both of you guys because you both beat me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. We sort of had a Blue Jays Cleveland rematch there, as in rematch of that ALCS. That didn't quite work out.
Nope. I'm gonna go have a smoke now. You guys have a great night.
Shots fired.
Oh, get back here.
I'm going to go to the bathroom and refill my coffee, and I'll wait on the word for the celebratory race. I'm definitely down for that.
The race is up on already.
Well, the Braum, at least.
Oh, yeah, he needs to do that. All right, folks. It's been a pleasure, everybody.
Yes, indeed. Does anyone else have any parting words here before we...
This was fun.
Your rules!
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Peace out. A-Town down.
A-Town down. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll try and do the not introduction, I guess extroduction, outro. That's what I'm looking for. Words. But yes. Well, thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to Feasel for generously, lending us the use of the Speed Gaming channel, and of course for doing the layout and the tech and everything else. Thanks to my co-commentators, Tristal and Jacquemus. And thanks to all the entrants, really. But particularly thanks to Game Boy and MisterHomes. And congratulations to both of you on getting second and first, respectively. And that was a heck of a race to end it, a heck of a finals race.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, thanks also to Game Boy for organizing the whole thing. I had a ton of fun racing and commenting and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I
And-
had tons of fun racing and mostly commentating.
Yeah.
I did much more of that than racing.
I did as well, yes. But thanks also, of course, to McGrew for creating the randomizer in the first place. That's obviously a pretty huge step there.
Yeah, I know McGrew has potentially some updates coming up soon as well.
Yep.
I know he was waiting until after the end of the...
Yeah, we were waiting until the tournament to unveil those, but let's see. I don't know. I believe that is about everything, unless I'm missing something. Tristal, anything?
No, I think you covered just about everything. I'll thank you as well, since you didn't thank yourself graciously. So thank you for commentating.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
You're very welcome. Yep.
Take care, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.